With another episode of the Miss Meyer Show, and I have a really big glare on my glasses, but oh well, I think it's because of my laptop, so I'm gonna move that out of the way. There we go. All right, so we are continuing. Well, actually, we're not continuing. We're starting on a whole new thing. We're moving on to chapter 7, and I can't lipstick on my cheeks. It's just driving me crazy. It's lipstick. You know, it's a problem, ladies, when it's red. So, we're going on to chapter 7, and that is the beginning, a new beginning from territory to civil war, and it begins on page 149. So what we're going to talk about right now is just how Louisiana was dealing with this whole new culture. These people who were living in Louisiana forever, we have the Acadians, the Cajun, the Isleños, the French, the Spanish, all of those people living here in Louisiana and living peacefully, and now you throw in Americans. Do I have any more lipstick on my teeth?
Let me see.
It's a bright pink color, actually. Does Louisiana teeth?
Let me see.
No? Okay.
Yes, you have tons of it.
You're lying! Do I? And you just letting me talk with it on my lip?
No.
Oh well, if I have lipstick on my teeth, I have lipstick. Teeth! Thank you.
You should include this
Okay, so what it is different is that now you have these Americans and they're coming over here and they're, giving their input, and they are coming and doing all these crazy cultures that are doing all these things. So you have all these changes happening to these people in Louisiana, and they're not happy about it. So now when they come over here and they have they need to set up a colony. They need to set up a territory. They don't have enough people at first to make a state, so at first Louisiana is a territory. Well, Thomas Jefferson, he's well aware that he can't just go and send somebody over here. He knows what these Louisiana people are like. He knows what happened with Eula. He knows what happened with Spain. He knows these people don't mess around. So he sends this guy, William C.C. Claiborne. And if you were ever in New Orleans, or golly, I grew up in Chalmette, I was right on Claiborne Avenue. I would just drive there all the time. So that's why we have that name, is for this guy, William C.C. Claiborne. Now, William Claiborne is sent to Louisiana by Thomas Jefferson because he's kind of a no-nonsense guy. He's quite young, but he's successful. He is successfully running the territory of, oh my gosh, he was, Mississippi and Tennessee. He was a congressman there. So Jefferson really trusted this guy to do a good job in Louisiana by getting the people together. He knew that the people in Louisiana were not ready to vote. He knew that they were not ready to be citizens, and he couldn't just throw them into that. In fact, a lot of them did not even want to be citizens. They consider themselves the subjects of France. The French king, who was no longer Napoleon and Robespierre and all those other kind of guys, they chopped his head off. So these people that were now Americans were never even considering themselves to be Americans. So Claiborne's job was to prepare them to join the Union. That's basically what was going on. Now, the whole Louisiana, that area, before it became a state, Vivian, shh. Before it became a state, was called the territory, sorry. Where was I? I just lost my train of thought. It was called, the territory of Orleans. So that's what it was called first. Before it was Louisiana, it was the territory of Orleans. And in order to become a state, they had to have it ratified. They had to have, a certain amount of people take an oath of loyalty. They had to have a certain amount of people living there. They just had to have the numbers. And at that point in time, they didn't have that. And Claiborne was the kind of guy that was going to stick around and make sure it was happening. Now, the French-speaking Creoles had lots of issues with these new Americans who were coming over. They didn't like the way they talked. They didn't like the way they acted. They didn't like their music, their dancing, their clothes, their culture. They didn't like them at all. They were completely different from anything that they had ever known. anyone anywhere can tell you that when they come to Louisiana, it's like a whole nother country. We do things completely different in Louisiana. Me living in Texas, it's when I say something or I do something, they're like, what? I remember I had spoken with one of my friends here before we were really friends, we were just acquaintances at the time, and I had said, well, yeah, you know, my mama and them, and she's like, your mom and who? I was like, my mama and them, you know, my family. So, but to them, they had no idea. And the way that I address people and I say, hey girl, you know, that's crazy to them. Now they know that I'm being friendly, but before they were like, what's wrong with you? So it's like, that's like my culture. It's very different in Louisiana than what it is other places. That's what the people of Louisiana were dealing with. The biggest culture clash, I'm sorry, I have an assistant sitting right across from me who's coloring, and she's adding her 2 cents. Shh, hey, shh. Okay, shh, be quiet. Yes, yeah, be quiet. Okay. So the biggest culture clash and the most common fight, because it wasn't just, you know, arguing in the streets. It was fights, like knockdown, drag out fights that would happen between these groups of people. And one of the biggest things that they would fight about was music. Okay? Here came these Americans, and they're coming over here from, you know, the 13 colonies, and they have their own form of music, whatever it is over there, and they're coming here and they're wanting to play it. Well, we don't play that here. We play jazz, or we played a version of the Isleños, kind of a Spanish tune, or we play French jazz. We play those kinds of things. We play Creole. We play Cajun music. These guys were trying to come over here with, like, I don't know, something else, and we're trying to, you know, use our accordions and banjos and things like that, and they would get into knockdown, drag-out fights over music. There was accusations in the street saying, we don't like your kind here, and we don't want you here, and you're not like us, and get out. It was just crazy. It was insane. And all the while, Claiborne is saying, there is no way I can get these people under control. Because they were just, out there. They were really out there. You had all these different groups of people trying to live together. The majority of them didn't even speak the same language. We had some that spoke French, some spoke Spanish, some spoke English, some spoke a Creole dialect, some spoke an Isleños dialect, some were speaking native tongue from Native Americans. You had, French Canadians coming down speaking a French Canadian, dialect. So you had all these different communication problems where they couldn't work together, or they couldn't speak together. And that was creating an issue too. On top of the communication, on top of the differences, it was just all these problems that were happening, and Claiborne's whole, goal is kind of going up in smoke. Well, the two groups finally established an uneasy peace after they agreed to alternate between French and American music, and fighting became less common. I'm no joke, y'all. That was the biggest problem. That was the biggest problem. Anybody, I guess, you guys are teenagers, I'm sure that, you're like, when you get in the car with your parents, like, I don't want to listen to that anymore, and it's a big argument maybe. I know my kids absolutely hate my stations. I like jazz, early jazz, like Robbie Coltrane and, Ella Fitzgerald. My kids hate it, okay? So that's kind of, I can see where it comes from. I know Isabel's like, can we put on real music? And I tell her no, but yeah. All right, so the question of statehood. So as if language and religion weren't enough, religion was another one. That's another one. Let me talk about that really fast because I skipped over that. Religion was a big deal. The majority of people in Louisiana at that time were Catholic, and the American people that were coming over here were Protestant. That's a big change. New Orleans is a Catholic city. It's very much, Catholicism is a huge influence. And when we had the Protestants coming from the United States area, we were all part of the United States, but you know what I mean. They didn't observe the same traditions that the Catholics did. Some of the things with the church bells, some of the things with their diet, some of the things with the behavior, or things like that. Mass schedules and things, that people in Louisiana were holding very dear to. The new people over here, they were like, that makes no sense to us, because Roman Catholicism wasn't a big thing in the American colonies. So that was another issue that they had to go along with. So that was all kinds of issues. So on top of language and religion, another conflict became their new American leaders. The question was statehood. The Creoles did not like being under American rule, but they knew they would have more control when their territory became a state. States were allowed to elect their own governors, their own congressmen, and their own senators, and pass their own laws. Until Louisiana could become a state, they would remain a territory. And as a territory, Thomas Jefferson and William C.C. Claiborne were going to be the ones that were making all the rules. So they knew they had to work together, or at least seem to work together, in order to become a state. Well, President Jefferson and Governor Claiborne, they realized that the Louisianians had no experience in self-government. They had none. They were always under the control of a monarchy. They were under control of the King of France, then the King of Spain, then Napoleon, and now they were a democracy. Now they were a free people. They had no idea what that even meant. They had no clue. They were totally did not know. So Jefferson was saying, I'm not going to give these people, this right to vote and a right to self-representation. They don't even know what it means. So their whole purpose was to do that. So they decided that they were going to postpone statehood. So Louisiana, they had the numbers. They had the people that were willing to say, yes, I'm an American. So they had all the requirements to become a state. Well, Jefferson and Claiborne said, we're just going to hold off on it. You can imagine how the people in Louisiana were. These were not the type of people that you said, we're just gonna kind of go back on our word. A huge fight broke out. You know what these people did to Eula? One of these people went to Claiborne and fought a duel with him and shot him and injured him. Didn't kill him, but they shot him. They were that angry. They said he was a liar, he was a fraud, he was the worst thing that happened in Louisiana. Anything you can say. Now, they couldn't get to Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson's over in Washington, D.C. He's Virginia area at this time. So he's way over there. He's like, whatever. The people in Louisiana, they took it out on Claiborne. So Claiborne was having some serious problems. It was not good for Claiborne. So Claiborne was concerned about these Creoles' feelings. So he knew after he was shot, he knew that he had to work to earn their trust. He had to work with them. He could have learned that from O'Reilly, from Eula, from Miro, from Mires, from all those people from Spain. They knew you don't mess with these people from Louisiana. You don't play with Louisiana, okay? So now Claiborne is trying to be friends with Louisiana. So he established land offices that quickly recognized most landowners' claims, okay, so that he was working with the people. If they said, there was lots of fighting between these groups, saying, this is my land, and this is your land, and don't come on my property, and blah, 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 blah. Lots of disputes. And the big problem was that they couldn't understand one another. So Claiborne also put into place interpreters, people that could talk to both groups to try to be an intermediary so that they wouldn't kill each other because they didn't understand what they were saying. So that was a big thing. He appointed Creoles to very important government positions, and that was a big deal because the Creoles, the rich French Creoles, they were the ones that held the purse strings in Louisiana at that time. So Claiborne knew that he needed to get these guys to be his friends. So he appointed a bunch of them to high government positions in Louisiana, even though they didn't deserve it, even though they weren't qualified. What do we call that? Nepotism! Very good, that's right. So Claiborne gave these guys all these high positions, and they liked him for it. And by doing that, they kind of protected him. And they said, hey, don't go shoot Claiborne, he's my friend. And that was what was going on. So like his Spanish predecessors before him, so he did learn a little bit from them, he didn't interfere with the French customs. These French Creoles were no joke. Not only did they hold most of the purse strings in Louisiana, they also held very tight to the Louisiana customs. They were the whole, kind of the glue that held Louisiana together. So Claiborne was very, very, very careful not to insult them. And you could insult them by doing the craziest stuff. So Claiborne was very careful not to do this by, at parties or in simple little ceremonies or, you know, at mass, anything that he could do to keep these guys happy, he was doing. Okay? So Claiborne slowly started to earn the people's approval. They started to say, oh, he's not so bad. He's not so bad. I'm sorry for shooting you, Claiborne. You're not that bad. So eventually, the French kind of accepted Claiborne. And because the French Creoles were like the big main group in Louisiana society, the other smaller groups, such as the Isleños, the Cajuns, the Spanish, you know, the native Louisianians, they started to accept him as well. And once they started to accept him, Claiborne started to say, well, maybe I can teach some of them to run Louisiana, and then I can leave and, like, wash my hands with this place. Okay? So to assist Claiborne in governing the territory, Congress created a 13-member legislative council. And those members, as you can guess, were made up of a few influential Creoles and, you know, some other people that Claiborne appointed. A little bit from each group. The majority of them were Creoles. Their whole itinerary for this legislative council was to split Louisiana into districts that could pretty much rule themselves and have like a central governing body, kind of like our government is now. You know, each state kind of does, you know, has a governing body, but we're all under the umbrella of the United States of America. That's pretty much what was going on here. So the legislative council created 12 counties, each of which would hold a local government. Now, each county had a judge, who was the top official, a sheriff, and a clerk, and all of those people were appointed by Claiborne. Now, when they become a state, though, it's Louisiana who votes for these people. So right now, the people of Louisiana are kind of trying to play nice with Claiborne. Claiborne's trying to play nice with them, and they're trying to play nice with Claiborne. They both have the same motive, to get Louisiana to be on its own so that Claiborne can get out. Claiborne wants to get out just as much as they want him to get out. So that's what's going on with the Legislative Council. 2 years later, the Legislative Council decided that they were going to create parishes, and that's how we have parishes today instead of counties. In Dallas, I live in Collin County. That's what I live in. When I lived in Louisiana, I lived in St. Bernard Parish. Louisiana is the only place that has the parishes in our country that I know of. There may be some other ones, but I only know Louisiana. So there are 19 parishes that we're now going to accompany the 12 counties. The parishes were governed by the judges and police juries. They were the ones who were in charge of these parishes. Okay? So these parishes, the judges, the police juries, they replaced the counties as the local governing bodies. The government used these counties only for electing the legislature and levying taxes. Two things the people of Louisiana knew absolutely nothing about. They didn't know about paying taxes. They didn't know about voting for a legislator. They didn't know about the whole democratic process. This was all a learning thing that was going on that Claiborne had to oversee and make sure was happening. Well, Louisiana had both parishes and counties until the counties were abolished about 40 years after they were established. So for a while we had counties and parishes, but then we just have parishes. So that's what I've got for you guys today. When we are in class next week, we're going to talk about the Neutral Strip. We're going to talk about the Burke Conspiracy, West Florida Rebellion, and statehood, and a little bit about Jean Lafitte, the famous pirate of Louisiana. That's all I've got for you guys. I will see you next time on The Miss Maya Show. Bye. Here's this.
Where it go?
Shh, hush, I'm trying to listen.
Mama, where it go?
I like this one. I like this one. The pipes so soon.
Yeah.
This is Boogie Woogie Boogie Bugle Boy. He's the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, company B. That's Johnny Cash. Who sings this? No. Stand by Me. Oh my gosh. No. Barbara Ann. Barbara Ann. Oh, I like how it went to color. I wanna hold your hand. One, two, three. Go, re, mi, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3. Marry you and me, girl. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Mamma mia, mamma mia, mamma mia. Let me go. Round them up. Oh, me. Oh, me. Oh, me. Come on. Believe it. Vivian's getting into it over there. Doo-doo-doo. Oh my gosh. But no one is around you. Say, baby, I love you. You ain't playing games. Do you even know who sings those songs? Now I'm starting to not know them.
Oh, that's single.
Oh, that's Beyonce. I know that one.
That's Katy Perry.
That's
Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Oh, who sings that? Oh,
That's the Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed. Yeah.
Hey, Justin Bieber's music.
Good night.
They're so good.
Is that their whole album?
That's not
What do they sing? Like, what songs
they're
do they
a
sing?
cappella and
They just sing random
See,
songs?
that one is when they made them.
What is the name
It's a-
of it?
It's called Daft Punk.
Do you want to hear my favorite song?
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
No, you really don't.
Yes, you do.
Go back to those childs. Those childs. Those children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Now
my
you're
gosh.
going to hear my song.
I hate this song. It's
Oh, wait, wrong
so...
one. Wait,
This song...
Shh.
No, you
Don't talk about my song. This is my jam.
No.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
I just ran a couple of sweaty miles with these guys, and now I'm gonna get them to smell my shirt.
Ew.
Ew.
Why?
Why?
I'm gonna do that.
It's like deodorant for your clothes.
I'm going to do that. We don't have Downy. We have the,
New Downy Fresh.
you ready?
This song was so popular in like 2012.
What does the fox say?
What are you doing?
Katie, what's the code word for today?
It's Star Stable.
Star stable.
Yes.
So star stable. Okay. Vivian.
Mom, my trade's
I see. Say Star Stable.
Door table.
Say bye.
Bye.
The man of the house. It's Tiggy. It's Tiggy. Tiggy's got a green eye. Oh, you got a green scary eye, Tiggy. Tiggy's got a green scary eye. Hey. What?
That's Tigger.
Yeah, I'm singing to him. Tigger, Tigger, you are the king. Tigger. Who's that, Tigger? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that cat? Look at that cat. Look at that cat. Oh, get that cat. Another cat in this house. Get him, Tiggy. Get him. Look at that cat, Tigger. Look at this guy. Right there. This cat right there. Look. He's bad. He wants to come over here and play with your toys and eat your treats. Bad cat. That's a bad cat. I won't let him. I won't let him eat your treats.